after a long, and I mean very long off-season, Six Flags St. Louis finally opened for the 2026 season. This will be an interesting season because Six Flags St. Louis, along with multiple other parks in the chain, were sold to this group called Enchanted Parks. Six Flags St. Louis is soon to be renamed Mid-America by Enchanted Parks. So I'm intrigued to see what changes will be happening throughout the park this year. And as you guys know, I always start off with Screaming Eagle. First train of the day, front row red train, not even close to a Zen ride. This line is already down the entire ramp. I don't think I've ever seen it build up this fast before, but I know why that is. Both days of opening weekend, the first 1,000 riders of Screaming Eagle get this commemorative pin in honor of Screaming Eagle's 50th anniversary, which it turned 50 on April 10th, 2026. Obviously the park wasn't open for its 50th, but that's still cool that I got first train on Screaming Eagle. Wasn't a Zen ride like two past opening years, but I still had a great time riding this PTC. I'm so happy that after 168 days, my off season is finally over.
I told you I was walking behind it. Like long step. Rose up. That's always alright. But yeah, Rose like this is good.
Yesterday, I was like, what?
I saw it going this morning whenever I got here. Wait,
where the hell is Streeter? Should have been on.
He should have been on the ride.
Yeah.
I saw him in
the boss like opening a month after the park. Like,
I want to see how the Titan track comes so we can ride the bus.
I want to give them a ring. I know I saw no news, but I was always gonna hope.
Yes, I was. That was people. So I may be seen on Facebook. Be able to do. I did that.
I've seen several of these signs throughout the park right here saying it's Screaming Eagle's 50th anniversary, which I think it's really cool they're honoring this historic classic wooden roller coaster, because back when it first opened in 1976, it was the tallest, fastest, and longest coaster on the planet. 50 years later, it still holds up a decent showing, especially when it comes to speed of wooden coasters. I think the fastest wooden coaster in the world, which I believe is now Goliath at Six Flags Great America, because Lightning Rod's mostly steel now. Goliath goes 72 miles an hour, Screaming Eagle goes 62, so it shows how far ahead of its time Screaming Eagle was. As for what's going on next, I'll tell you guys 1 second what's going on, but you got Freeze going there. Still have yet to catch a rollback on this, which, speaking of it, if you guys saw any of my vlogs from last year, you know that I was dead set on Mr. Freeze not making it to 2026. So to see it running is a very pleasant surprise. And also there's another ride I gotta keep my eyes on. Of course, the ride that I am referring to is Justice League Battle for Metropolis. Enchanted Parks right now, to my knowledge, does not have the rights to use the DC Comics license. If they're not able to secure the license to DC Comics by the end of this year, all of the DC themed rides in this park, so Mr. Freeze, Batman, Joker, Catwoman, all those will have to get rethemed, which is worth noting Joker unfortunately will not be open today, so I'll not be able to experience that. For Justice League, since this ride is so heavily based on its theme, if they're not able to get the rights to use the DC Comics license, that would essentially mean the end of Justice League. So I'm going to be treating this like it's the final season for Justice League too. My max score count is 2,633 on this, and it's worth noting that is counting the maxes on Great Americas as well as Over Texas, because I've gotten those maxed out as well. My goal for what I want to achieve on this by the end of the season is 3,000. So if I can get my skills back into top form, which I imagine I'm gonna be washed after my first few rides, so I haven't ridden this in almost 6 months. If I want any chance of getting 3,000 by the end of the season, I need to get going as soon as possible, which obviously it is not open right now. So I'm gonna see if Mr. Freeze will be my next stop, which that's probably what I'm gonna do, get a couple laps in on that. Well, that wasn't too long. We are back in the Hall of Justice, and man, it is surreal to be back in here, knowing that this could very well be the final season for this ride. Man, they got the music blasting in here. It was really loud, and the line is non-existent, so my first ride on this will be a Zen ride. Possibly first try double max incoming. Y'all better watch out. Two things to note about Justice League for this year. One, I have a feeling this is gonna be an absolutely insane year for me. On my first ride, 956 with a second blaster. I thought I could have doubled, honestly, but I didn't have as high of a score as I would have liked to after screen 1, so that kind of messed my run up right then and there. But I was red and yellow a car 2, and actually something interesting to note, 7 cars are on the track. Car number 5 was not in operation last year. I heard that car is back on, so I'm intrigued to give that car a try. And then the second thing, the music in there is a lot louder. I know in the room with the Joker animatronic, you could hardly hear the music last year. It is blasting loud in there now, so that's awesome. That close to a double max on my first ride after almost 6 months. I have a feeling this is gonna cause an absolute rampage later in the year. The line for Justice League is building up, so Mr. Freeze will be my next stop. It is so weird to be walking through this entrance sign again. I did not think I'd ever get to do this, because like I said earlier, which make sure you guys watch the end to see how the day goes and if there are any new changes throughout the park, which I mentioned a couple. I was fully convinced after last year I would not be able to walk through that entrance sign again. So getting to walk this queue line again is awesome. Here's another new change for the season. Last year, the middle car on both trains was blocked off. As you can see over there on side B, they are loading the middle car, so now it looks like Mr. Freeze is back up to full capacity, assuming they're running both trains. It may be another season here at Six Flags St. Louis, but at least for Mr. Freeze, things are pretty much the same. In other words, a lot of people over at side B, next to no one over here at side A. Mr. Freeze just short parked. The front car is in line with row 3 roughly. Yeah, that's just about right, because you can see over there on side B, row 3 is in line with row 1, so it stopped about a whole car short where it should have, so that's not cool. I cannot believe I got to ride this thing again. I'm so glad to have ridden this thing. Front row, side A. I thought it short parked again after I returned back to the station, but I slid over just fine, so I don't think I got stuck on it. As for how I was running, it was amazing as per usual. I mean, it's Mr. Freeze. What else is there to really say about it? I don't know which ride I enjoyed more, this or Screaming Eagle. Even though Screaming Eagle was running very slow, the fact that I got first train on its 50th season was pretty cool, so I enjoyed both rides a lot today.
This is my favorite ride. That sucks. Behind it.
How was your guys' ride? The ride up to the boat, we saw it, we achieved these articles, and then start dancing and stuff.
Just waited about 15 minutes for American Thunder. They don't have a set fast lane system in place for the time being, so I'm stuck with a main line for the foreseeable future, which that's gonna make things quite a bit tougher to get some more maxes in on Justice League, because I checked a little bit ago and that line was almost out of the building. So I think I might have to rope drop Justice League for the foreseeable future until they get fast lane. As for how American Thunder rode, I got front row of the red train. It was quite a bit smoother in certain areas, like right here, you can see they retracked this valley before the climb into the final brake run. There were some other parts, especially the first half, they got retracked. So that was nice, but in terms of forces, it was questionable. But then again, blue train always runs better from my experience, so maybe I just need to try the blue train out. Quick correction about what I said about there being 7 cars on Justice League this year. There's actually 6 of them still on the track, but instead of car 1, it's car 5. So every car except for car 1 and car 4 are on the track, at least for right now. Now, will they add car 1 later in the season? I'm not sure, but you never know. Around to see what coaster lines are manageable, and I saw Boss's line wasn't too bad, so I'm gonna give this a try while I'm up here. The line is only about the brake run, so this should be, I don't know, 15 or so minutes max. I did hear that they might have not done any track work on it this year, which is really unfortunate because I heard the track work it got last year was the start of a multi-year project. Now, it's possible the project could have been put on hold because of the part getting sold off. I really hope it didn't get outright canceled because opening day last year was running way too good. It was the best I've ever seen it run. And I know it ran really well because it was running too fast and triggered overspeed faults throughout the day. So let's see how it's running now once we get on. they are.
Yeah, no, I saw everything. I couldn't.
Oh, it was so fun.
Just got off of my first ride of the season on Boss. Got to ride in the green train for my first time since 2024, so that was pretty cool. The statement about them not doing any track work was actually not true. They did redo a couple sections. Now, I wouldn't say it's as extensive as it was last year, but there were still some parts that got retracked. Like I know the bottom of the drop off the mid-course got some track work. Top of the first turnaround got a little bit of track work too, so that part was running pretty nice. Unfortunately, the climb into the mid-course is still really bad though. I wish they would address that because that was definitely the roughest part of the ride. Other than that, Boss, I would say it's running pretty good this year. On photo mode for a little bit because all the lines right now are quite massive to my knowledge. Although I did just get word that Ninja might be a walk-on, so I'll have to go check that out. And I'm back at the extended queue for Mr. Freeze for the first time this year, which I did not think I'd get to see the view again, so it's really nice to be back over here. Six Flags St. Louis is packed if the line for Ninja is almost out of the entrance. Upon second glance, it looks like it's only down the steps, so it's not as bad as I thought it was, but still. Any line for Ninja is very surprising, given how I almost always see this thing as a total walk-on.
Please make sure for you. Any and all this belonging, let's make a way to the other side of the ride. Moving gates will be closing shortly, so set out.
No, you're not allowed to go down. Stay up. Stay up. Wait, is the second? Oh no.
Well, good night, riders. Everything.
I'm just gonna join you because like I'm back. If I should ride them back, he said yes, then I'll go. What, you scared?
And then if you're not going to be riding, can you wait behind this next gate over here? Welcome in, riders. How was your ride? That was magic. America. For those of you waiting in line, we do have some guests coming in through our this is the Lots Detective booth. Come on. Okay, that's fine.
wish this pathway over here near Batman was opened up. Not only would it prevent there from being 2 dead ends, but it would also provide amazing views of this first wing over right here. And I just got off of Ninja. I thought it was the same old story, so not too janky, decently intense. I wouldn't say that's anything out of the ordinary. As for what I'm gonna do now, I saw River King Mine Train have one of the cars go completely empty, so maybe that's something worth checking out. That TV needs some serious help. Oh my gosh.
What ride did you
Once again, for the people just now entering in, we are currently seizing operations due to technical difficulties. Well, before the mine train went down, you guys having a good day? Good day? Good day? Good for yourself? Good for yourself, good day? Yeah, yeah. All right, what do you guys say? Good. All right. So, what's your guys' favorite? Hold on, I'm talking. What's your guys' favorite ride in the park? Mine train. American Thunder? I'm not talking to her. Alright. So, what is the long... If you get off the gate, get off the gate for longer than...
ended up being about a 15-minute wait turned into about a 35 to 40-minute wait because it went down for technical difficulties when I was pretty close to getting on. So that wasn't a great circumstance, but I'm just glad they got it back up and running instead of closing it for the night. Laterals were nuts today. It was quite jarring, but it's a 55-year-old Aero mine train, so what else can I say about it? Pandemonium's light dying down significantly from earlier, so I think if I don't do it now, I might not get a better chance to do it today. Pandemonium only took, I don't know, 15 minutes to get on it, and the cycle I had was not very good. We didn't have much spinning at all. From the drop off the second last block zone, pretty much on where we were following the curve of the track. Well, I shouldn't say for the rest of the ride. Up until the last block zone, we were definitely following the curve of the track. It was kind of boring, so most of my rides on it last year were a lot better. Earlier today, the line for Justice League was through all this here and almost out of the building. Right now, it looks much more manageable, so let's give it a go. I ended up marathoning Justice League up until the park closed because the line was still decently long, and I knew I needed to dedicate more time to it in order to get more laps in. And my final ride count from the day was 11 on Justice League, and then 1 on every coaster in the park with the exception of Batman, Boomerang, and Rookie Racer. In terms of highlights, getting the first train of the season on Screaming Eagle on its 50th anniversary, my ride on Boss was great with the track work it got, the double max I got on Justice League, as well as the ride I got on Mr. Freeze were all excellent. And if you haven't subscribed, turned the bell on, left a like, left a comment, share the video with someone you know, I would appreciate you doing all that before moving on. And stay tuned for more content coming soon to this channel, and I'll see you guys later.